So we're building towards the future of entertainment, and I think Sony is a great partner to help with that.
This is a huge step forward. Being able to link something as powerful as Unreal into their camera workflow unlocks a whole new world of projects.
We've partnered with Sony on a number of things lately, and one of them is their camera and display plugin, which lets the Sony Venice be virtually inside of Unreal.
An artist is able to sit down at a computer and use a Sony Venice 2 digitally, then go out in the real world and get the same result.
Before we had this plugin, you knew that your viewport gave you an idea of what things would look like, but that lighting and color would be different.
The plugin allows it to have that cinema look as if you were actually looking through a camera when you're still just in the engine. Being able to dial that in ahead of time is a huge leap forward.
We wanted to see these plugins in action in a production environment, so our goal was to do a previs shoot and then to recreate those shots in camera.
You can get a sense for what the exposure index should be, what the width of the lens is going to be, and you get to see this in real time. It's the difference between, yeah, that's pretty close, to that's correct now.
It gives you all of the camera settings that you would be setting on the day. So we knew that when we got on stage the next day that we would have an accurate representation of what we saw when we did the tech viz the day before. If you can start with the most accurate information, everything downstream will just work better.
From a color calibrator point of view, I think that interface is very easy to use, it's very intuitive, it's very clear what is happening on the interface, it provides valuable feedback to us, and it produces the expected results.
Sony has been really great at coming up with a suite of solutions and tools which will allow the filmmaker to easily move from what they decide in pre-production all the way through to the final product and be sure that any of the issues, any of the pain points that they would have felt are eliminated.
The other thing that's happening in the plugin is it's also giving some warnings whether or not you're going to run into issues during the shooting, and particularly the highest issue is moire.
Moire can really be an issue because sometimes you actually don't see it when you're shooting. With tools that can identify that ahead of time, you know that you have a safe zone to operate in.
If the LED wall is too close to being in focus, you start to see moire. Typically, we ask the subject to be a certain distance from the LED wall, but that requires larger volumes. And so this allows us to have a smaller volume and really push the boundaries in terms of depth and use more of that playable space.
If you turn on the moire tool and everything's good, it'll be green. As you focus in, it'll give you yellow, which is sort of like the warning track. You're getting close. And when you hit red, it means you got moire and you're way out at that point.
It's really great to see Sony building in these fail-safe systems, which are going to allow people to embrace this technology in a much easier way.
There's a second tool that they also made, which is the color calibration tool.
Sony has a wide expertise in both camera and LED. They're able to sort of connect a lot of the technologies together and bring their engineering team to the forefront in solving some of the problems that we face in production today.
One difficulty that we've encountered is how the white point temperature tracking is not perfect, and at different brightness levels we would see slightly different temperatures. The color calibrator helps a lot to make sure that the LED display displays the same temperature at different brightness levels and the white point is perfectly tracked.
The goal is that someone who has created content in Unreal, when they get it all the way to the stage and shoot it, that's what comes back.
This color calibrator app took at least 2-hour process down to 15 minutes.
It's likely something that we can deploy onto smaller scale productions that wouldn't necessarily be able to have a full suite of staff of color scientists, and it's done so in a way that general technicians should be able to deploy it.
When you're in the heat of creativity, you just want to be able to create. And so working with Sony, we've really tried to come up with solutions that will address the needs of the creative community so that they can tell their stories better.
Being able to link something as powerful as Unreal into their camera workflow unlocks a whole new world of projects. Not just using their technology, but being able to tell new stories with their technology.
I think what Sony's trying to do is show what should be done to the wider industry from a manufacturer's perspective.
Having a partner like Sony that are pushing the boundaries and helping us move virtual production forward is incredibly exciting.
I'm proud to say I got to be here and certainly want to thank Sony for trusting us to help work with them on this, and we look forward to doing a whole bunch more of it.